The road to No Mercy was shaped by the events of last night's NXT. Joe Henry battled Wes Lee and Pete Dunne for an opportunity to challenge El Ego Ethan Page for the NXT Championship. In a gauntlet eliminator, Sol Ruca, Jada Parker, Carmen Petrovic, Ren Sinclair, Kendall Gray, and Adriana Rizzo fought to crown the number one contender to Roxanne Perez's NXT Women's Championship. Lola Vice faced her toughest challenge since the Prodigy in a battle with Wendy Chu, who had her eyes on Kalani Jordan's Women's North American Championship. Chase U held a celebration for the new NXT Tag Team Champions, Andre Chase and Rich Holland. And Hank Walker and Tank Ledger faced a monster of a challenge in Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. This was a night to watch, shaping the future of the youngest brand in WWE. Hey there, welcome everybody to this special edition of Wednesday Night Madness. I am Anthony Florio, sitting in tonight for good old MF Michael Fletcher. He is not feeling well this evening. We hope to have him back with us Friday night for our season finale of TXN Sports World. For tonight, I am joined by the phenom Michael Bullock, and without any further ado, let's dive right on in. You know how we do it as always. We review NXT, and we also review AEW Dynamite. Both great shows, I will tell you that right now. And let's start it off with NXT, of course, and we started it off with an in-ring segment. It was the celebration for Chase U, the new NXT Tag Team Champions, then interrupted by Nathan Frazier and Axiom, the former champions. They wanted a rematch, but Riley Osborne went on to say this. Duke Hudson, actually, he said that it'll be me and Riley Osborne versus the two of you. And if you and Frazier, if you and Axiom win this match, maybe, just maybe, you'll have an opportunity you'll get your rematch for the NXT Tag Team Championship at No Mercy. And it led into our first match of the night, 2-for-1 deal here. Axiom and Nathan Frazier squaring off against Riley Osborne and Duke Hudson of Chase U. And the winners of the match in 9 minutes and 17 seconds, Axiom and Nathan Frazier, they get the win. And on top of that, later in the night, General Manager Ava made it official. It will be, we are going to get the rematch. The rematch will take place at No Mercy. Andre Chase and Rich Holland will defend the NXT Tag Team Championship against the challengers and former champions, Nathan Frazier and Axiom. All right. Let's, no pun intended, let's cut to the chase here. Exciting match that served as an unofficial number one contender opportunity, showing Frazier and Axiom are unstoppable when on the same wavelength. A rematch between the champions and former champions is an easy win for No Mercy on September 1, though NXT did tease an intriguing contest for the future with an all-Chase U bout for the titles. But Holland, let me tell you about Rich Holland. He cut a passionate promo about his journey, possibly his best ever. And Frazier and Axiom thought the match would be later in the night. Instead, Hudson and Osborne ripped off their pants to reveal their wrestling gear. And that's how this all came about. So a solid 3 stars for me, teetering on 3.25. Excellent jump off for this. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, come on in. Mr. NXT, what a way to start it off here. Frazier and Axiom defeating Riley Osborne and Duke Hudson. And at No Mercy, they will get their rematch for the tag team titles against Andre Chase and Rich Holland.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, this was definitely a good promo to start it off. I mean, basically, like you said, with Chase U celebrating their tag team titles, and basically, yeah, Rich Holland. I mean, you talk about with what he's gone through. I mean, just to get to this point. So, and now, of course, like you said, with Nathan Frazier and Axiom want their rematch, so they had to go through the other members of Chase U and Yep, and that's what happened here. This was about a 3-star match as well, and yep, like you said, we're getting it at No Mercy. Andre Chase and Ridge Holland defending their titles against Axiom and Nathan Frazier. So we'll see what happens. So nothing more to say. It's yours, Florio.
All right, Bullock, you'll be starting off the next match as it featured Wendy Choo squaring off against Lola Vice. Wendy Choo wins the match, 11 minutes and 4 seconds. And after the match was over, Kalani Jordan got involved. And Kalani Jordan laid down the challenge. And now we can add another match to the No Mercy card, as it will be Kalani Jordan defending her NXT Women's North American Championship against Wendy Choo.
Yeah, this will definitely. Oh,
so Bullock, your thoughts as Wendy Choo defeats Lola Vice in 11 minutes and 4 seconds, and now it'll be Jordan versus Choo for that Women's North American title at No Mercy.
It was a 3.25-star match. I mean, basically, yeah. I mean, obviously, you want to give Wendy Choo that momentum, and as you notice, I mean, when Kalani Jordan came out, she used that same pillow to attack Wendy Choo, and then what was inside that pillow?
The Women's North American Championship belt.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So Kalani Jordan got it back, and basically, like, she threw down the challenge, and like you said, this match is going to happen now at No Mercy. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah, 3.25 stars for me too. This match balanced between sloppy and scrappy throughout its runtime. Choo and Vice did not have clean chemistry, but they battled hard to make the most of their time. This got over 10 minutes and ultimately landed in the solid category, especially showing that Choo could hang with Vice. The finish was ridiculous, but protected Vice well enough. Kalani Jordan versus Wendy Choo at No Mercy will be an interesting matchup, as it will be the biggest test for the champion and her challenger's latest gimmick. This could be a career-defining bout, though the two need to bring more to the story next week. I agree, 3.25 stars. And we move on now to the gauntlet, the big gauntlet match, one of the two big main events here last night. Excuse me. And we started it off. Sol Ruca and Ren Sinclair were the first two. Adriana Rizzo came out third. And then it was Sol Ruca eliminating Adriana Rizzo for the first elimination. And then Brinley Reese came in. Kendall Gray came in. Jada Parker came in. So let's break it all down. Sol Ruca eliminates Adriana Rizzo first. And then Kendall Gray eliminating Brinley Reese. And then Jada Parker eliminating Kendall Gray. Sol Ruca eliminating Ren Sinclair with a Soul Snatcher. And it led to the final two. Sol Ruca versus Jada Parker. And the winner of it all in a total match time of 15 minutes and 45 seconds. And the number one contender for Roxanne Perez and the NXT Women's Championship at No Mercy is going to be Jada Parker. Ms. Parker, if you're nasty. So, all right. 3.5, 3.75 stars. I mean, these matches are always tough to rate, but I will say this: NXT played a dangerous game, putting this many inexperienced women in a complicated match type, and it did not all pay off. Everyone worked hard, but not everyone was ready to be in this spot. Kendall Gray stood out poorly as she struggled to hit her obviously choreographed spots. On the other hand, Sol Ruca and Ren Sinclair were the workhorses of the match for a reason, keeping everyone on time as they could. It was odd to take Carmen Petrovic out at the start of the night, replacing her with Brinley Reese. Reese was fine in the match, but that spot could have gone to a more interesting wild card option. Parker won the match on the path of least resistance, taking advantage of the three remaining women in the end. Still, she was the obvious choice to challenge Roxanne Perez on the current roster. The more NXT stalls, bringing in Julia and Stephanie Vacour, the more every other option looks lesser in comparison. And the show started with Izzy Dame attacking Carmen Petrovic, who would not be cleared for the Gauntlet Eliminator. And then General Manager Ava announced Brinley Reese would take her place instead. And Kendall Gray celebrated the opportunity with Brinley Reese in the locker room, but promised to fight hard later. And then after the match was over, Jada Parker cut a promo afterward, promising that she was the difference maker. So that's all there is to say on that. So about 3.5, 3 3/4 for this. So Michael Bullock, very surprising outcome here. I mean, you had Sol Ruca winning it. I had Sol Ruca winning it. But no, Jada Parker gets the honor. And Jada Parker, the biggest win of her career last night, could it lead to an even bigger win in Denver on September 1st?
Yeah, this is a result that I think surprised both you and me, Florio, because, well, I don't know where Fletch stood on this, but going into this, I mean, we had Sol Ruca winning it, but no, they surprised us. They pulled the rug out from underneath us, and they went with Jada Parker. So definitely a big time win for her. Could it lead to an even bigger win at No Mercy? And for her to dethrone Roxanne Perez, I'm sorry to say it, I don't see that happening. I'm already going on the record saying Roxanne Perez is still going to be the champion after No Mercy. So,
agreed.
But I gotta go. I agree. This is a 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. So there's nothing more to say. Let's move on, Florio.
Well, we had a couple of cutouts here. First up, we had Hank Walker and Tank Ledger squaring off against the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. Hank and Tank win the match, 4 minutes and 35 seconds. About 2.25, 2.5, if I had to put a rating on it. But it was a genuinely shocking result, but in a good way. Hank and Tank have been grinding for the last year, working hard with good opponents, but taking the fall. This felt like the level up moment. They won clean over a veteran tag team, setting the group up as rising acts that may finally start going for gold. The match was fairly ordinary, but the result raised this to the point of a genuinely important moment in the tag team division. So yeah, big win for Hank and Tank. Hands down, their biggest win. Knocking off a team like the Good Brothers, former IWGP tag team champions, former Raw tag team champions. I think they were SmackDown tag team champions at one time also, but nonetheless, big win for Hank and Tank. So, all right, and then I think we had another. In-ring segment. Charlie Dempsey, along with Miles Bourne and Ren Sinclair, No Quarter Catch Crew, celebrating the Heritage Cup, interrupted by the family, Tony D'Angelo, and it was also interrupted by the North American champion, Oba Femi. And at No Mercy, we're going to have Oba Femi defending the North American Championship against Tony D'Angelo. So there's another addition to No Mercy for September 1. And there's also going to be a six-person mixed tag. Adriana Rizzo, Luca Crucifino, and Stax Lorenzo. They're going to go up against the No Quarter Catch Crew, Ren Sinclair, Charlie Dempsey, and Miles Bourne. So we're going to get that on next week's show. So to break it all down, short, sweet, and to the point. After weeks of teasing, NXT has wrapped around to the biggest match possible for Oba Femi right now, a battle with the Don. And Tony D'Angelo has serious credibility in the size to genuinely match the North American champion. The two should deliver big shots and push the title holder to fight from underneath against one of NXT's main event acts. No Quarter Catch Crew got embarrassed a bit again, but as long as Dempsey keeps the Heritage Cup, he can build his credibility in the ring. So there isn't much more to say on that. Then we had another cutout here. Ashante the Adonis squaring off against Dion Lennox. And it was Ashante the Adonis winning the match, 3 minutes and 44 seconds. This was the worst fight of the night for me. Excuse me. While Adonis has been entertaining in backstage segments recently, this match felt completely superfluous. The former Hit Row star has never truly put it together as a single star, and it showed here. While Lennox is also an unfinished project, this could have been an opportunity to boost his profile. Instead, this all amounted to giving Adonis a win that he will struggle to capitalize on as part of a loaded NXT roster. So pretty much an absolute dud for this one. This was the worst fight of the night. We're not going to waste any time on that. But you best believe we are going to address this now. But before we do that, let's set the table for next week. No quarter catch crew, like I said, going up against the D'Angelo family. We're going to have Izzy Dame squaring off against Carmen Petrovic. And the newly named Fatal Influence, Fallon Henley and JC Jane will be squaring off against Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson of the Metaphor. And you're going to get all that on the Go Home show Tuesday night. And now the main event of the evening, the triple threat match, the number one contender match for the NXT Championship at No Mercy. Wes Lee squaring off against Pete Dunne, squaring off against Joe Hendry, and the winner of the match in 12 minutes and 20 seconds. Come on, Bullock. Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. That's right, folks. Joe Hendry wins the match. 12 minutes and 20 seconds. He will now go on to the Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado to challenge All Ego Ethan Page for the NXT Championship. No question about it here. I got to call this the fight of the night here. 3.5 stars, teetering on 3 3/4. Man alive. Two of the best wrestlers in WWE today let Joe Hendry show out in this match, and it was spectacular to watch. The crowd was into every big move from the new number one contender. He looked like a rock star on a mission. Page versus Hendry may not be a matchup between technical powerhouses, but the two have already showed they can sell a crowd on their every move. This was the right move, even if it was predictable. Pete Dunne versus Trick Williams needs to happen again, as does Wes Lee versus Zachary Wentz. However, Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry was the only option out of this triple threat. Lee and Hendry were interviewed at the same time, and the latter called out the former for talking down about TNA. Pete Dunne interrupted Ethan Page during an interview to lay claim to a title shot. All Ego joined commentary. Lee and Dunne attacked Hendry before the bell, but could not get along once it rang. Hendry popped the crowd big when he lifted Lee headfirst into Dunne's crutch and then took out both men outside with a leaping cannonball, and then Lee went for a handspring, but Dunne caught his hand, breaking the fingers. Henry wiped out Lee afterward with a standing ovation on the announce table. Ethan Page did everything he could to prevent Joe Hendry from winning, but give the assist to Trick Williams, laying out Pete Dunne, and Ethan Page was just a little too late as Joe Hendry, with the biggest win of his career, and now could lead to an even bigger win at No Mercy. Hopefully, he'll get the big win here. Unlike at Slammiversary last month when he should have won the TNA Heavyweight Championship. But, it is what it is. But he could end up leaving Denver as the NXT champion. Very realistic possibility. So we shall see what happens. But for right now, 3.5, teetering on 3 3/4 of a star. I got to say this was the fight of the night here. Although you can make an argument for that women's gauntlet too. But nonetheless, great moment. And there's nothing left to say here. Michael Bullock, your new favorite wrestler, Joe Hendry. He's going to Denver and is one win away from shocking the world and becoming the NXT champion. Can he do it? I hope so.
And he would make history. He would be the first wrestler from the TNA crossover to win an NXT championship of any kind.
Yeah.
I mean, and for him to win the big title, that would be huge. So we'll wait and see what happens. But 3.5, 3 3/4. I mean, fight of the night, hands down with this. And yeah, Joe Hendry with his biggest win and you saw there were so many times. I mean, that Ethan Page. I mean, he tried to screw Joe Henry over, including times when he tried to prevent a referee from getting in the ring. But and there were times I'm like, oh no, Joe Henry's gonna get screwed. But Trick Williams made sure that did not happen, and you know what? I'm gonna go on the record of saying this. I think Joe Henry's gonna do it. I think he's gonna win the NXT championship, and this would be the perfect way to make up for him not winning that TNA championship, which I'm with you. He should have won that title. And well, we'll see what happens. So 3.5, 3 3/4, fight of the night. And as far as my overall thoughts on this edition of NXT, I thought this was a good show. I mean, yeah, you did have a couple of cutouts that I think did take away from it some, but at the end of the day, I think it was a good show. 7.5 to 8 for me. It's yours, Florio.
I agree. 7.5 to 8 out of 10 for me as well. Outside of one dud match, NXT brought a strong in-ring show for the night. Nothing was rushed for the sake of filling in more action. Not everything fully landed, though. The Gauntlet Eliminator was a little sloppy. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson put over Hank Walker and Tank Ledger a bit, but did not push them to a memorable match. On the other hand, Lola Vice and Wendy Chu took advantage of the extra time to work past some rough spots. The opener and main event played out very well to maximize the talent involved. The No Mercy build was on point throughout, including instantly elevating the excitement around Oba Femi and Tony D'Angelo. Overall, this was a night when the action was more than the sum of its parts, and the right moves were made to sell a solid premium live event card. So I'm with you, Bullock. 7.5 to 8 out of 10 for me. So with that being said, let's now move on to the final AEW Dynamite. The final AEW Dynamite before the All In pay-per-view. And so bear with me for one moment here. Okay. Let me get that out of here. Okay. The main focus may be on All In, but AEW still made sure to make tonight's Dynamite worth watching with some big matches. Let's take a look at what happened on the Go Home episode of Dynamite before All In. And AEW Dynamite, I do believe it was taped earlier because of the fact that it was in Cardiff, Wales. So, just trying to find it here. Okay. Yep, it was taped earlier in the day at the Utilita Arena in Cardiff, Wales. And we opened it up with a contract signing. Tony Schiavone presided over this contract signing for the TBS Championship match at All In, with the TBS champion Mercedes Moné, along with the Brickhouse Camille, and of course her challenger, of course, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And we'll do the bit in a little. We'll do the contract bit that Bullock and I always do in a little bit, but I will tell you this. They traded some of the expected insults and got the crowd worked up a few times with a few good lines, but it was a pretty down the middle contract signing. Nothing surprising happened, but sometimes that is a good thing when a feud is already interesting enough. And then Britt Baker ended up attacking Camille and taking down both women with a crossbody from the table to end the segment standing tall. And AEW has been putting women in the opening segments more often, and it's been nice to see. And some CEO chants were drowned out by the crowd almost immediately. So, solid segment with the babyface looking strong, heading into the title match. And it's nice to see Dynamite playing to a hot crowd. So not much more to say here. And Michael Bullock, what do we always say about contract signings there, JBL?
They don't end well.
And this one damn sure didn't end well.
Yeah, and the thing you noticed, Florio, during the segment, I mean, Britt Baker basically told Mercedes Moné, You were one of 4. I think I know what she meant by that.
Yeah.
I think because of the let's say it's the 4 horsewomen of NXT. Remember
Mm-hmm.
that?
How
And
can I
Britt
forget?
says, I was one of 1. So this was basically her taking a shot at her being part of that 4 horsewomen of NXT. And I don't think Mercedes took too kindly to that, but
No.
yeah, and basically Britt Baker got the best of Mercedes Moné. So I don't know about you, Florio, but I got this feeling. Of course, I think Mercedes is still walking out the champion, and don't be surprised if Camille has something to say about that.
Oh, of course.
Because
Of
quite
course.
frankly, I don't think I want to mess around with this girl. I don't
Oh,
even
no.
want to say girl in front of her.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
All right.
so I thought it was a good contract signing. Could have been better, of course, but yeah. So there's really nothing more to say. It's yours.
All right. Let's get into our first match of the night. FTW champion, the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, squaring off against the Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington. Chris Jericho wins the match, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. And just to let you all know, Tommy Billington is actually the nephew of the original Dynamite Kid from the days of the British Bulldogs. So that's his nephew in there. So just to clarify. So, but nonetheless, Bullock, predictable outcome here. Jericho wins the match, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Predictable outcome, obviously, because you want to give Jericho the momentum going into his FTW title match against Hook at All In. But Hook has a tough test of his own. He's got to go up against Big Bill this Saturday on Collision.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna give this about maybe 2 3/4, teetering on 3. But yeah, I mean, obviously you want to give Jericho the momentum going into that matchup against Hook for the FTW championship, and yeah, Hook's got a big challenge against Big Bill on Collision, and yeah, with just almost less than 24 hours before his matchup with Jericho, so we'll see what happens with that. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah, solid 3 stars for me. The young nephew of the original Dynamite Kid showed some moxie early on by taking Jericho down with a few nice combinations and a missile dropkick. The Bad Apple, Brian Keith, and the Redwood Big Bill attacked Billington while the referee was distracted to put Jericho on the right-hand side driver's seat as the show cut to a break. Interference aside, it was a solid outing between a veteran and a young talent looking to make his mark in the business. The Learning Tree was unable to win with the wall to Jericho, but a code breaker counter to a flying headbutt scored him the win. Solid 3 stars for me. So there is absolutely nothing more left to say here. AEW Women, the first of 2 championship matches on this show tonight. The AEW Women's World Championship on the line. The champion, Toni Storm, defending against Saraya. Saraya had Harley Cameron in her corner. And the winner of the match, 8 minutes and 40 seconds, and still the AEW Women's World Champion. It is Timeless Toni Storm. The problem with a match like this is its level of predictability. Mariah May versus Toni Storm is a big payoff to a long storyline. So if you expected Saraya to win the title here, we've got some swampland in Florida to sell you on that. Because there was no way that was happening. Storm was able to thwart Harley Cameron with a kiss before she smooched Saraya and hit Storm 0 for the win. And then Mariah May blindsided her former mentor, left her laying. So Saraya looked better in this match than she has in quite some time. It was as if being in the UK gave her a boost. And Toni Storm kissing Harley Cameron got a big pop. It definitely got one from me. I'll tell you that right now. So, yeah, not much more to say on that. 840. That's about 2.5, teetering on 2 3/4 for the match. So, not much more to say. Michael Bullock. We did talk about this recently in one of our private chats. We talked about this. No surprise with Tony Storm winning this match because, I mean, the big payoff is Tony Storm versus Mariah May. And after all the weeks to build, why would you change it at the last minute?
Yeah, it would have made 0 sense whatsoever if they had Saraya go over and become the AEW Women's World Champion. I mean, I get it that it's in her home country and you want to give her the moment, but no, the money match is Tony Storm and Mariah May for that AEW Women's World Championship. Because, and I'll tell you this right now, Florio, if they had put the belt on Saraya, I would have gone on a rant here.
Oh, I would have too.
Because, I mean, with all the build leading up to the match, and then you put the title on Saraya, I mean, what was the point of building that feud when you're going to put the title on Saraya?
Exactly.
What was the point of it?
Mm-hmm.
But thank goodness it didn't come to that. It was the correct call, and now we're going to get it. So, what was the time of the poll again, Florio?
8 minutes and 40 seconds.
All right, I'll give this about maybe 2.5, 2 3/4. It's yours, Florio.
Oh, we're going to have some fun with this. The in-ring segment, Will Ospreay and MJF. Michael Bullock, wow. Oh, boy, they went there and then some. What a segment.
Oh, yeah, they went there and then some. I mean, segment of the night. I mean, you expect anything less when you got these two in the ring and they just traded insults at each other. But man, oh man, MJF. I mean, he's been known for going there, and boy, howdy, he did when he said, basically saying, "Oh, I had a conversation with your wife," and then next time, when she has a child, it's not gonna be yours. I'm like, whoa.
Yikes.
And you could just see, you could almost see steam coming out of the head of Will Ospreay. And then he asked Shivani, like, how much will I get fined for when I beat up this little prick? And the fine was $127,000. And Will Ospreay said, you know what? It's well damn sure worth it. And he basically, they went at it and then some. So, man, segment of the night, and it really, I mean, and the only question is, Florio, as I give it to you, can the sequel be even better than the prequel?
That's a great question, and we'll talk about that on Saturday night for our on that show, which I'll address in a little at the end of the show. But they talked trash for a long time about who was the better wrestler and who had the biggest ego. The crowd was eating it up, but it was nothing we hadn't heard before. MJF took the low road and brought up Ospreay's wife and kid. Ospreay, like Bullock said, inquired about the fine for hitting MJF and found out it was 100,000 pounds. He felt like it was worth it and dropped the American champion. Once security got involved, MJF was able to gain control and hit a brainbuster. While this segment was great, my only criticism was it went on far longer than it needed to after everything they have said and done in this feud. Ospreay's star power in the UK is unmatched. The Welsh crowd treated him like a hero. And it's almost ironic that Ospreay took a subtle jab at WWE when this was the most WWE-like segment on this episode. So, very well done indeed. And like Bullock said, will the sequel top the original? It's got a tough act to follow, man. I mean, it went damn near an hour last month on Dynamite 250 when MJF stole the then international championship from Will Ospreay before rechristening it the American title. So we shall wait and see. We'll get more into that on Saturday night. All right. Let's get into this here. Here we go. Our other big title match. But to close out the other segment, it was a strong go-home segment with good mic work from both men. And that's it. All right. AEW Continental Championship on the line. The champion, Kazuchika Okada, defending against Claudio Castagnoli. The match ends in a 20-minute time limit draw. Hands down the fight of the night here. 4.5 stars. I mean, these men are evenly matched in a lot of ways, so they kept coming to a stalemate when locking up. They played some mind games just to see who would break first. Both men seemed determined to make sure the pay-per-view hype did not overshadow this bout. They wasted no time turning this into a physical encounter. This was just as good as you would expect it to be. We saw some fantastic exchanges and spots sprinkled into a solid technical performance. This easily outshined the rest of the card. The only complaint one could make is that this bout ended in a time limit draw, which we just saw, which just happened this past Saturday night on Collision when FTR and the Acclaimed, I believe they went to a 30-minute time limit draw. Other than the non-finish, this is one of the best things you will see all week. So there isn't anything else left for me to say. 4.5 stars, fight of the night, no doubt about it. Michael Bullock, Okada, and our former Cesaro, 20-minute time limit draw for that Continental Championship. Nothing left for me to say except I believe a rematch. I think a rematch is in order at the earliest possible date. Maybe Wembley. You never know.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see on that. I mean, look, any other time, I have every right to give this a no rating. I mean, but with how good this match was, this is the one time that I got to give it a rating. 4.5 stars. I mean, you expect anything less when you got somewhat in the caliber of Claudio Castagnoli and Kazuchika Okada? You know you're going to get something real good here. So, yeah, I mean, my only complaint, Florio, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, is why is there only a 20-minute time limit when it's a championship match?
Because it's the Continental Championship. And
I get it, it's the Continental Championship. I get that. But to me, this is just my opinion, any championship match should be a 60-minute time limit.
I agree.
I'm sorry. I mean, I know it's the Continental Classic, the Continental Championship, and not any of the other major titles, but to me, any championship should be a 60-minute time limit. Period. End of quotation. End of statement. 4.5 stars. It's yours, Florio.
All right. And all right, Bullet, keep your mic on because we immediately move on to our next match, a trios match, 6-man tag team match, as it was the EVPs, the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, along with the TNT champion, the Scapegoat, Jack Perry, squaring off against Darby Allin and FTR. Darby Allin and FTR win the match, 9 minutes and 55 seconds. Michael Bullock, your thoughts?
I'll give this about 3.25 for this. A good solid match here to end the matches portion of the show here. I mean, obviously you want to give FTR some momentum going into this this triple threat match for the tag team titles at all in. So and then of course the Acclaim come out afterwards and have a little back and forth with FTR. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah, 3.25, teetering on 3.5 for me. This bout had some entertaining sequences and moments, but it was also a pretty standard trios bout. It had lots of multi-man spots and people not worrying about who was legal. The skill of all 6 men helped make this a fun encounter, but the EVPs and Jack Perry went back to their hotel angry after Dax Harwood pinned Nicholas Jackson to get the win for his team. And then the Acclaimed had a confrontation with FTR after the match. So, and of course, we all know at All In, it will be a 3-way match for the tag team titles: the Young Bucks versus FTR versus the Acclaimed. So, we'll get into that on Saturday night. So, closing segment. Tonight's Dynamite ended with the final confrontation between Bryan Danielson and AEW World Heavyweight Champion Swerve Strickland, but not before Bryan Danielson encouraged Will Ospreay to use the Tiger Driver on MJF at All In. After bringing up his family, Swerve found himself being taken down by Bryan Danielson's Busaiku knee and being read the Riot Act. So, there isn't anything else left for me to say. Michael Bullock, what did you think about that final segment, man? Nigel McGuinness served as the moderator, but he didn't really have much to moderate. But nonetheless, I mean, we were already excited about this match, but I think this final pitch tonight took the excitement sky high, tenfold, and then some.
Oh yeah, it definitely did. It definitely added hype into that. I'll say one of the most highly anticipated AEW World Championship matches in a long time. I mean, because with everything that's on the line, Swerve Strickland's title against the legendary career of Bryan Danielson. Yeah, as soon as Swerve Strickland mentioned Bryan Danielson's family, you knew Bryan Danielson wasn't going to take that lightly, and this was the side that we all wanted to see from Bryan Danielson. Not only us, Jeff Jarrett wanted to see it. Hell, even Eddie Kingston wanted to see it.
Indeed.
And I think both of them got what they wanted, and they wanted to see that fire from Bryan Danielson, and he brought it and then some. So, man, I'll say this, Floria, when we do our prediction, this is going to be the toughest one to predict.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, part of me wants Swerve Strickland to win because, look, he's been on an absolute tear as the AEW World Champion. You don't want to break his momentum. But you also want Bryan Danielson to win so he can continue his career and finally win that AEW championship like he promised that he would. And so, yeah, this is going to be tough. So thankfully we have until Saturday night to decide.
Yes.
So, man, I just can't wait for this. It's yours, Florio.
Don't get me wrong, the card looks great. It does. But out of all the with all due respect to the other matches on this card, Bullock, this is the match that you and I are going to have the most vested interest in. There is no doubt about this. We have not been this emotionally involved and emotionally invested in Bryan Danielson probably since the whole Yes movement, the whole Yeselmania at WrestleMania 30. When he won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The big night that he had at the Superdome over 10 years ago. And how excited we were when he won that title. And, but my God, that match is going to, the only other match that I could see stealing the show would be MJF and Will Ospreay. But this is definitely the most emotional of all the matches here. The gut tells you to go with Swerve to retain, absolutely. But your heart tells you to go with Bryan Danielson. And for another reason, Bullock, not just to continue his career, but also to give him one last title run before he calls it a career. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with that. So with that being said, let's get into an overall review here. Very good show here tonight. I got to give this somewhere around 8.5 out of 10. Tonight's show did a great job selling the All-In pay-per-view while also delivering some good matches for the live crowd. Kazuchika Okada and Claudio Castagnoli stole the show by a wide margin, but all of the matches from tonight's show were fun in different ways. AEW All-In has a lot of great feuds coming to a head, so Sunday could be very important for AEW and its future TV rights deal. 8 to 8.5 out of 10 for me. Nothing left for me to say except take us home, Bullock.
Yeah, 8.5 for me. A good show, good final build up towards AEW All In this Sunday. So yeah, nothing more for me to say except Florio, let's wrap it up and hit us up with the future content.
Will do, my friend. All right, so here we go. Like Bullock said, that will indeed put the bow on this special edition of Wednesday Night Madness. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in, as always. We will be back with you on Friday night at 10:30, right back here on the Tone 25 for the regulation season finale of TXN Sports World. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, provided he's on, he will have his final Big Three basketball report. He will recap the Big Three championship game between Three's Company and Bivouac that went down this past Sunday at the TD Garden in Boston. And then from there, we are going to preview the 2024 college football and NFL seasons. That's all on Friday. Saturday, probably around 10:30 or so, over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, it will be the Cerebral Smack Talk. We will review Friday Night SmackDown, and we will preview the AEW All In pay-per-view. That's all I know for this point. We will keep you posted on some other future content, but this is all we have for right now. So until Friday night, for our regulation season finale of TXN Sports World, this is Anthony Florio. Anthony Florio here for the Phenom Michael Bullock. And in spirit, good old MF Michael Fletcher. Feel better soon, MF. Hope to have you back with us Friday night. And of course, as always, the one and only First Lady of Talking Wrestling TXN, the Twisted Angel, Didi Woodson, always and forever. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Friday night, for our regulation season finale of TXN Sports World, you've been watching this special edition of Wednesday Night Madness right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. And remember, my friends, no matter what anyone tells you beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.